Before we begin, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. It costs free $99, it helps out the channel, and you'll have zero regrets doing it. So without further ado, on to our feature presentation. The film follows Claudine, a single mother raising 6 children in Harlem. To keep food on the table, she relies on welfare while also working as a housekeeper, quietly earning extra money whenever she can. But here's the problem. If the welfare office discovers she's making too much money, or even suspects she's living with a man, she could lose her benefits that keep the family afloat. It's a system that almost seems to design to punish people for trying to do good in a situation. And it's this situation that forces Claudine to constantly look over her shoulder while doing everything she can to provide for her kids. During one of her work days, she meets Rupert, who works as a garbage collector. He's confident, charming, and immediately catches interest in Claudine. The attraction is mutual, and before long, Roop asks her out on a date, which she accepts. When Roop arrives at Claudine's apartment to pick her up, instead of a warm welcome, he is greeted by Claudine's 6 outspoken children, who isn't thrilled that their mother is seeing another man. Having been abandoned by their own fathers, they are convinced Roop will eventually do the same, so they waste no time giving him the hard time.
Your mama home?
No.
Where is she?
I don't know.
You mind if I come in and wait for her?
Mama said never let nobody in when she ain't home.
Among the kids is Charlene, the self-appointed babysitter who is more interested in acting grown than watching her younger siblings. We also meet Charles, Claudine's oldest son, who makes it clear that he doesn't trust Roop from the moment they meet. As if things couldn't get any worse, Charles uses up all the hot water, taking a bath, leaving Claudine unable to get ready for her date. Trying to salvage the evening, Roop invites her back to his apartment so she can freshen up before they head out. Once there, Claudine gets startled by a mouse running across the floor. That will be important later on. And after finally getting to the bathtub, the stress of working, raising 6 children, and constantly worrying about making ends meet catches up to her. She falls asleep right there in the bathtub. Realizing how exhausted she is, Roop quietly changes the plans. Instead of taking her out on the town, he orders dinner, and the two spend the evening together at home. After settling in for dinner, Claudine and Roop begin to open up to each other. Roop admits that his life isn't exactly simple either. He has 2 sons living with their mother in Ohio, and another daughter living in Louisville. Reveals that he also carried baggage from past relationships. As the night becomes more intimate, one problem still remains: that mouse. Thankfully, Roop managed to kill it, finally putting Claudine's biggest fear in the apartment to rest. She insists to get rid of the mouse before anything else happens, and once he does, the mood quickly shifts back to romance. Of course, this moment wasn't about to last, because just as the couple started to get comfortable, the phone rings. On the other end is Charles, calling what has to be one of the most awkward interruptions imaginable. He tells his mother that one of his younger brothers has been caught playing with himself. Yeah.
Now, how would you know that unless you look through the keyhole? How would you know he's playing with himself? Charles, you the one always complaining.
The next morning, Claudine returns home to a house full of curious kids, all eager to hear about her night with Roop. While some are simply nosy, Charles remains unconvinced. Having watched the other men in their lives disappear, he warns his mother that not to get her hopes up, convinced that Roop will eventually abandon her just like the rest. Later that day, Roop stops by the apartment hoping to win the children over. As a peace offering, he brings everyone ice cream. The gesture works on just about all the kids, except for Charles, who refuses to accept it and continues to keep Roop at arm's length. Then comes the moment Claudine dreads the most. The welfare caseworker is on the way. The entire household springs into action, hiding anything that could suggest Claudine is doing better financially than she's supposed to. The new iron, the toaster, the rug that Roop bought her. Everything has to disappear before the caseworker walks through that door. If she suspects Claudine is earning extra income or receiving support from a man, her welfare benefits could be reduced or taken away altogether. When the caseworker arrives, Claudine puts on a convincing act, denying that she's working and insisting Roop hasn't been around. But enduring one intrusive question after another, she had enough. Claudine pushes back, asking why her personal life is any of the government's business in the first place. It's one of the film's strongest moments, highlighting just how dehumanizing the welfare system can be. That night, Claudine catches Charlene trying to sneak out of the apartment. It doesn't take long to find out why. Charlene has been drinking with her boyfriend, trying to act older than she really is. Unfortunately, the night doesn't end well. After getting home, she can't even keep the alcohol down and ends up vomiting, hinting that much more happened during that night out than she's willing to admit. The full story won't come out till later. Meanwhile, Roop started to take interest in the boys. He catches one of Claudine's sons skipping school to shoot craps with the neighborhood kids. Rather than immediately scold him, Roop joins the game for a moment, earning the boys' respect before turning into a life lesson about responsibility and staying in school. One child, however, is still nowhere to be found. Charles has been missing from home for 3 days. It turns out he became involved with the local revolutionary movement, believing activism is the best way to fight back against the injustice he sees around him. While Claudine worries about where her son is and whether he's safe, Charles is convinced he's finally found a cause worth dedicating himself to. Before long, the alarm goes off once again. The welfare caseworker is back. This time, Roop gets a first-hand look at the routine Claudine and her children have been forced to perfect. Everyone scrambles to hide anything that might raise suspicion, while Roop attempts to stay out of sight. That doesn't work. The caseworker spots him anyway and immediately begins questioning him about his relationship with Claudine. She wants to know how often he's around and whether he's helping her financially and what role he plays in the household. Roop can't believe what he's hearing. From his perspective, there's nothing wrong with the man helping a woman raise her children. Instead of being praised for stepping up, he feels like he's being treated as if he committed a crime. The entire interrogation only reinforced how backward the system seems. After the caseworker leaves, Claudine is rattled. Now that the welfare office knows Roop is involved in her life, she's convinced that it's only a matter of time before her benefits are reduced or taken away altogether. The two are forced to have a difficult conversation about their future. Should they keep seeing each other and hope the welfare lady leaves them alone? Should Roop walk away to protect the support Claudine's family depends on? Or should they stay together and deal with whatever consequences come their way? Looking for answers, the couple head to the welfare office and ask questions that has been weighing on both of them. What happens if they get married? The response does little to ease their concerns. They're told that Claudine's benefits will change based on the household income, and if Roop were ever to lose his job, he will have to apply for welfare himself. The answer doesn't sit well with them. As a man who takes pride in working for a living, he worries about the stigma that comes with relying on government assistance. He fears people will write him off as another lazy black man living off the system, despite spending his life trying to do the exact opposite. It's another reminder, no matter what choice they make, the system seems determined to put them in a lose-lose situation.
Fraud!
Despite all the uncertainty, Roop finally reaches a decision. Instead of letting the welfare system dictate their lives, he's going to marry Claudine and face whatever obstacle comes their way together. Feeling hopeful, he invites Claudine and all of the children over to his apartment so he can share the big news. For a brief moment, it looks like the family might finally be getting the happy ending they've been searching for. Then, everything changes. Just before Roop can make his announcement, he opens a letter in the mail. Inside is a notice informing him that he's fallen behind on his child support payments. To make matters worse, the payments are now being deducted directly from his paycheck, leaving him with even less money than before. The news hits him hard. The excitement from earlier disappears almost instantly, replaced with frustration and anger. Unable to process everything that has just been thrown at him, Roop begins to take his emotions out on Claudine. What was supposed to be one of the happiest days of their relationship quickly turns into one of the most difficult, as the financial pressures threatening both of their lives begin driving a wedge between them. Hoping to lift everyone's spirits, Claudine and the children plan a Father's Day celebration for Roop. They decorated, prepared food, and eagerly wait for him to arrive, but he never shows up. Hours passed, and there's still no sign of him. Before long, they discover the heartbreaking truth. Roop has skipped town and moved out of his apartment without telling anyone, leaving Claudine and the children wondering if he abandoned them like so many men before them. That night, Charles doesn't hold back. He reminds his mother that this is exactly what he warned her about, insisting he knew Roop would eventually disappear. Then, in the middle of the argument, he dry snitches on Charlene.
You crawl into bed. You take a look at Charlene's. Good night, Grandma.
Claudine immediately confronts her daughter. When Charlene refused to come clean, Claudine disciplines her with a hairbrush before the truth finally comes out. Charlene is pregnant, and to make matters worse, the boyfriend she's been seeing has little interest in taking responsibility or helping raise the baby. With Roop still nowhere to be found, the stress inside Claudine's household continues to build. The children hears a rumor that Charles got his you-know-what cut off, but it turned out he only underwent a vasectomy. Having watched his mother struggle to raise 6 children after being abandoned by multiple men, he's determined not to repeat that same cycle. In his mind, it's the only way he can make sure that he never brings a child into the world that he can't be there to raise.
Charles, you think you are so cool. Had yourself fixed, right? So you would never give no woman a baby. You did it to yourself.
Ironically, it would be Charles who tracks down Roop at a local bar. And is anyone wondering why there's a full gospel choir performing in a bar? But Charles doesn't hold back. He shoves and kicks Roop before telling him that if he truly cares about Claudine, he needs to stop hiding and tell her the truth instead of disappearing without a word. Those words finally get through him, and Roop returns to Claudine and apologizes. Admitting he wasn't trying to abandon her, he has simply become overwhelmed and ashamed of everything that has happened, believing she and the children will be better off without him. Fortunately, Claudine doesn't see it that way. She forgives Roop, and after some hesitation, the children welcome him back into the family. The couple finally decides to stop letting life get in the way and hold a small wedding ceremony right inside Claudine's apartment. While the wedding is underway, Charles gets involved in a political protest that spirals into a riot. Police follows him back to the apartment, interrupting the ceremony and turning the wedding into complete chaos. The film ends on an unexpected weird note, as the newlyweds and the entire family end up being hauled away together in a police wagon thanks to Charles' latest run-in with the law. This was a really good movie, and there's so much to unpack that it is impossible to cover every theme in this little recap. First thing that stood out to me was the children, and I'm not gonna lie, they stressed me out, especially the 2 oldest. Charlene thought she had everything figured out, sneaking out to be with her boyfriend, only to end up pregnant and abandoned when she needed him most. And then there's Charles. For all his anger and rebelliousness, his decision to get a vasectomy shows just how deeply his childhood affected him. After watching many fathers walk away, he became determined not to repeat that cycle, even if it meant making an extreme decision. But more than anything, I think the film's biggest message is that you can't run from your problems. Nearly every major character tries to do it at some point. Claudine is forced to hide parts of her life from the welfare system. Charlene avoids facing the consequences of her choices. Charles throws himself into activism while struggling with his own family issues. And Roop disappears when life became overwhelming instead of talking to the people who love him. Eventually, every one of them has to confront reality head on. What makes Claudine so memorable is that it balances comedy and social commentary without ever losing sight of its characters. It's funny one moment, heartbreaking the next, and shines a light on the impossible choices many working class families had to make. I also have to give a huge shout out to Curtis Mayfield for producing the incredible soundtrack, with Gladys Knight and the Pips delivering some of the unforgettable performances throughout the film. The music adds so much heart and soul to an already powerful story. So if you haven't seen Claudine, there are several versions available on YouTube. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's an important piece of black cinema that surprisingly feels relevant more than 50 years after it was released. And that concludes the Claudine recap. Tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Please hype, like, comment, and subscribe, as majority of you watching this video aren't subscribed. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. The following was a JGTV production. Thanks for watching.
You gotta be careful when you pick fights.